Hello and a very good morning to you. Welcome along to Ireland AM.
It is Tuesday, the 31st. We have finally reached the last day of January, everybody.
I don't know why you're so excited. January is rubbish, but February's not going to get much better.
Well, we've got a bank holiday.
Yeah, we do.
And it's Tommy's birthday month. We're going to do something every single day for Tommy. That's
and Six Nations is starting more important.
There you go. Happy days.
OK, coming up very shortly, we're going to be hearing more on the calls for changes to parking legislation when it comes to disabled parking bays.
Yeah.
If this has affected you, we'd love to hear from you. 0896 111 111.
Also, a little bit later on, Motherland fans will know her as the brilliant school secretary, Mrs. Lamb. Her side eye is something else. Star of Stage and Screen, Jackie Clune will be here.
Plus, he's the comedian with over 2 million likes on TikTok. Seán Burke chats about his viral internet sketches and comedy career.
TikTok. That's how we say it now. Alan, what else is on the way? TikTok.
Now we've loads on the way. We're meeting one of the stars of RuPaul's Drag Race, Jujubee. Is it Jujubee? Jujubee?
Jujubee.
You might get that right before you leave, I'd say.
Jujubee. Well, why is it spelled J-U-J-E?
It says
Ask her. First question, I want to hear.
Jujubee. We hear from the company who scatter your loved one's ashes in space. Would you like that to happen to your ashes? Plus, the Skin Nerd is back to answer your skin-related questions. You can send those messages into us 0896 111 111 if you have anything you want to ask the Skin Nerd a little later on.
We ask a poll on that later on. Do you want to go into space?
Would you like to go into
space? We won't.
I'd say people want to shoot people into space before.
Other people. Right now, it's time to go over to the Virgin Media News Hub for the first time today and say hello to Cliodhna Russell.
Thanks, Muireann. Good morning. A government spokesperson says the legal strategy around the issue of nursing home charges has been misrepresented and that the idea was only ever to defend cases where people claimed their medical card should entitle them to free care in a private nursing home. Claims by a whistleblower on the issue were published in the Mail on Sunday newspaper, where more extracts are due to be published today.
We have the documents, and the memo we're publishing tomorrow, an excerpt of, says that in May 2016, very close to the time that Leo Varadkar was to leave the department in a cabinet reshuffle, there was a new Taoiseach appointed, Enda Kenny again, he was informed of this policy. Further than that, he was active in it, and what the memo said was, and I won't go into all the legalese, was it has been agreed by the Minister and the Attorney General that settlements would be made, I paraphrase that, it's a bit legalistic, in the range of 40 to 60% of the claim, which means we would settle. So he is there in black and white, Leo Varadkar, in 2016 of being informed of that.
A new survey from car website Dundeal reveals a surge in demand for electric vehicles. The majority of potential car buyers surveyed are considering an EV as their next car, while the second-hand market for electric vehicles is also taking off.
The latest survey from car website Dundeal suggests a sea change in Irish consumer behaviour around electric vehicles. 70% of those surveyed said they were now considering an electric vehicle as their next car. Meanwhile, on-site demand for new and used EVs grew by 33% in 2022. It was also the first time that a fully electronic vehicle, the Volkswagen ID4, was the most in-demand new car on the website. The findings tally with new EV registrations. There was an 81% increase last year, according to the CSO. The Dundeal survey suggests a growing second-hand market for EVs, which it says is key if the government is to meet its climate action plan targets. However, battery life and range remain the two key concerns of second-hand buyers. Aubrey Robinson, Virgin Media News.
Sex abuse charges against singer R. Kelly are to be dropped by a Chicago prosecutor. The state's attorney says justice has already been served due to the sentences the disgraced R&B singer is already serving. Federal convictions in 2 different courts have ensured that R. Kelly will be locked up for decades.
I want to reiterate our office's support of the investigations that led to the charges and convictions both in the Eastern District of New York and the Northern District of Illinois. It is to that end that due to the extensive sentences that these convictions hold, our office has decided not to continue to expend our limited resources and court time with the indictments that we previously charged Mr. Kelly.
The death toll from a blast at a mosque in Pakistan has risen to 61, with a further 150 people injured. Yesterday, a suicide bomber struck the mosque in the middle of afternoon prayers. Most of the casualties were police officers, with the mosque serving the compound of the city's police headquarters. A suspected cannabis grow house and drugs worth over €500,000 have been discovered in County Roscommon. A woman in her 50s and a man in his 60s were arrested at the scene. The search of the premises as part of Operation Tara was carried out at around 1 p.m. yesterday. Gardaí say investigations are ongoing.
For car insurance, van insurance or home insurance, call the Quote Devil. Unless, of course, you've got money to burn.
Yes, Stuart, thank you and a very good morning. 31st of the month, last day of January, and let's take a look at how it's shaping up right up and down the country now with Derek Hunnan with us on cameras. And it really is the winds that are the main feature out there this morning. They are strong locally, gusty from the west and a little bit stronger there off those Connacht and Ulster County coastlines. So a lot of us getting blown around left, right and centre out there this morning. Now, it is mainly dry, damp roads out there with showers through parts of Fermanagh, South Donegal, mainly through Donegal town into Bundoran and parts of Tyrone and into County Derry, not escaping either. But as the morning progresses, we're going to see bright spells pull through the cloud, the best through the northeast into southern sections of Cork, South Tip and into Waterford. Now, right across today, in fact, not a bad one in store. Again, we're going to see some bright spells, good deal of cloud cover with some passing showers. In fact, through the Midlands, as we work our way then onto the east coast, through the northeast and from County Down mainly, that's where the best of the sunshine will lie out there today, and still pretty pacey in terms of those winds. Top temps there, averages at 7 to 9 degrees. Finally then tonight, it looks like clear spells with some scattered showers, but we will see rain merge to longer spells as we work away tonight into tomorrow morning, carrying with it a risk of hail as well. So a bit of a wintry feel out there tonight into tomorrow morning. More rain on the way as we edge our way into Wednesday as well, with values back to about 4 to 8 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up for now. Pretty blustery one out there this morning. So wrap up if you're out and about. We'll catch you back live at 7:35.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points.
The Quote Devil's always got one hell of a quote.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We're going to start with the Irish Times. Its headline: plans for childminder subsidies for parents go to Cabinet. Subsidies for thousands of parents using childminders and not a creche will be a step closer if Cabinet approves plans for legislation aimed at paving the way for the sector's future regulation.
Window is closing on cheapest fixed-rate mortgages. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. Tracker mortgage customers with AIB and Ulster Bank have been warned they're running out of time to lock in attractive fixed rates.
Over 1 million views of anti-migrant protest streams. That's the top story on The Examiner. Live streams by 7 Irish YouTube accounts filming anti-migrant protests were viewed over 1 million times during the first days of 2023, amidst warnings that violent rhetoric has ramped up.
The Herald goes with "My baby never had a chance." A woman who lost her unborn child after brutal assault by her ex-partner yesterday told the Central Criminal Court of her ordeal.
The Star leads with that same story. Monster killed his own unborn baby.
The Sun leads with "I walked all over Dublin with €1 million in my back pocket." Mayo OAP syndicate chief Michael Cosgrave collected the bumper cheque at Lotto headquarters, then had to hunt for a bank to take it off him.
The Mirror goes with Ireland's drug runners. They're aged 13. Gardaí revealed that boys of 13 are carrying drugs to hopeless addicts in Dublin's north inner city.
And finally, the Daily Mail leads with "Leo signed off on secret nursing home payouts." Taoiseach Leo Varadkar signed off on secret payouts for families who were overcharged for nursing home care. Department of Health documents show. We're also going to be discussing that story in Making the News at 8:35.
7:35.
7:35.
There we go. We're here. It's the last day of January, guys. We've made it. Coming up, we're going to have the latest on the call for changes to parking legislation from disabled drivers.
See you very shortly. You're very welcome back. Now, with disabled parking being for disabled users, we know many people use them who are untitled to use them.
This is something Vicky Casterly and her son James encounter almost on a daily basis, and they're hoping to chat to us about this today.
Yeah, both Vicky and James are here alongside Richard Ryder, who is from Disabled Drivers Association of Ireland, whose new campaign Baywatch is hoping to enact some changes. Good morning.
Good morning,
to you all. Great to have you with us, James, as well. Vicky, talk to us about this. This is something I as go to the parent and child parking spaces, and it frustrates the life out of me when I saw someone firing in, jumping out of the car, running into the shop, and I can't find a space. I can't imagine how infuriating it must be to try and find a parking space when you have James there and you're trying to get around your daily life.
Yeah, the thing is, I suppose the spaces there are there for functionality for persons with disability to be able to navigate in their communities, shopping centres or venues, wherever they're going. And if they're misused, it could severely impact, I suppose, somebody else's day. You know, they're not there just for the jig of it. They're there to allow you to navigate in your community, be it go to the bank, go to the shop, go to your GP, and they're made with a certain width, space on each side, so you can actually get in and out of the car safely as a passenger or driver with disability. And that could be with a wheelchair, a walking frame, a walking aid, and without that space, you might not be able to open your door, you might not be able to put the wheelchair beside the car or a walking frame, and that could severely impact you in doing your daily tasks.
Can I just ask you, in relation to this, Richard, what is the legislation when it comes to people who are not entitled to park in a disabled parking space parking?
OK, well, in private car parks, for example, what we're calling for is for the guards to be able to go in and be able to put on a fine onto somebody who parks illegally in a wheelchair accessible spot in a private car park. At the moment, they can't. So anywhere, the law basically means if there's no local authority sign over the wheelchair spot, the guards or traffic wardens can't put a ticket on it.
OK, so that's in private?
That's it. Yeah, that's in private.
And in public?
Well, in public, yeah, the guards, you just can't. You have to have a wheelchair accessible badge or a blue badge to park in a wheelchair accessible spot.
And if you're not, what's happening? Like, do you have the evidence that they are getting fined
150,
or clamped?
Yeah, but I mean, we need more clamp down on it. You know, we need more guards to be out there putting signs on people's cars. You know, we really, really do. Yeah. No more enforcement, I suppose, would be the thing. We do need more enforcement.
I can't believe that. I just assumed that you see a disabled parking space wherever it is, and a traffic warden can come and put a fine on it. But
no, not in private, only in public.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's up to the management of the shopping centre or whatever to have a third party to come in and, you know, clamp. You know, you'd see the signs clamping in operation, and that's what it is. But they can't put a fine on it.
And they sometimes love to clamp, no matter where you are.
But it's also it's hit and miss. It really is hit and miss. I think you guys would see that.
Yeah, and I think in private shopping centres, you know, they may have a sign to clamp, but you know, if you said, OK, please clamp them, you could also be blocked in your space for it. You know, if you're in a space and somebody uses it as a set-down area, or whatever, you could be blocked into your space while you're waiting on them to pay for the clamp and the clampers to come out to let you out. So it can be kind of a bit of a circle. Now, the Disabled Drivers Association, An Garda Síochána and IWA, there is Operation Enable, there's the Back in 5 campaigns, there's Make Way Day, there's all of these things to enhance the awareness. And ultimately, you know, Baywatch comes down to this as well. It's about the awareness of the functionality of these spaces and not to, you know, I suppose to understand the depth of it. It's a societal change.
But it's really weird. Like, it's fairly obvious. When you see a disabled... James, when you see a disabled parking space, when you see that sign, we all know that that's not for people who don't have a disability.
Yeah.
So for you, is it, like, frustrating? You're going about your life and sometimes your man can't park up.
Yeah, it is a bit. Like, I get that it needs close to the shopping centre, but it's you can walk. Like, you don't have to be that easy. You can walk. So.
What sort of excuses? Like, would you go up? Would you approach somebody who was parked in an illegal?
I used to, didn't I? I used to be crazy lady.
Was James like that?
Pretty much.
There's nothing crazy about it. I mean, it's infuriating.
Yeah, like you would have, and again, it boils down to lack of awareness and understanding. But I'll be back in 5 because I'm just running into the bank.
There's nothing about lack of awareness and understanding. The disabled badge is there. Somebody nipping in to go to the bank.
I know, but sometimes, and I would know other people that would have a pass, and it's really difficult. There's things you have to go through to be entitled to a blue badge, but some people's disabilities are invisible. So the other side of it is that has to be remembered as well. Just because you don't see a wheelchair doesn't mean, you know,
you have to be very
necessarily.
careful.
Once
You
the
have to be
badge
very
is
careful.
there.
Once the badge is there, but you know, it does have to be, you know, enforced in private shopping centres and spaces. Myself and Richard were talking beforehand. In our local authority, I'm from Lucan, and we now have a text alert system. So on the accessible sign in Lucan Village, and it was an idea that I came across in Gorey and asked our local authority to do. So if you see the misuse of the accessible parking bay, you text the number and the traffic warden will go directly there.
Yeah.
And are people using it?
Well, it's there, but it's actually a deterrent because it stops people doing it. And it's a direct method to be used. And to be fair, like, the council engaged with it, but it means, you know, ordinarily we don't have a challenge in Lucan Village getting a space because that's there, and we'd love to see that rolled out.
We're going to speak about it afterwards
We'd love
ourselves,
to see
just
that
to see if we
rolled
can
out.
get this rolled out and
To roll it
talk
out.
to more,
Roll it out.
you know, local authorities.
Sense,
Yeah,
no,
we'd love to hear
absolutely.
from people if this is something that affects your life, because when you're able-bodied, and a lot of the time you don't think, but they're clearly marked 0896 111 111. When you used to go up to people before James was like, "Ma'am, calm down." What sort of reaction did you get? Were people understanding? Were they mortified, or could it be aggro?
It could be combination. You know, it's like, oh, you know, just here. Or I would get particularly, I suppose, irate, and I am human as well. But if we're in a parking space and people sit down behind us and you're looking to go out, or in our local big shopping centre, you know, there's a pedestrians, you know, markings from the accessible bays to go into the centre, but people might just park on that as well. So it's like, well, I can get out of my car, but I can't go further up. I would find myself as a parent, and for James, because you're navigating traffic.
You're trying to take your son to places, you know, like, even because James is big into his football as well, isn't that right, James?
What about rugby?
No.
Why not?
Why not?
Too posh.
It's too posh. Too posh.
Brilliant. Hey, behave yourself, James. I'll take it. All I read about this, Jimbo's accessible adventures. I was going to ask you that, but not anymore, I tell you. But you get to go to the Aviva and stuff as well.
Yeah.
And so you do get to do some exciting things, but it must add to your mum's anxiety when you're trying to take your sons.
If I take the car, yes.
If we take the car. James is a lover of public transport, hence Jimbo's accessible adventures. So, do you want to tell them?
Yeah. So I'm travelling all 32 counties. I'm almost finished 32 counties. But I'm travelling all 32 counties by public transport.
Are you 32 counties by public transport?
Yeah.
Well done.
Because
We've 8 left.
How is that going? Because we hear all the time, obviously you're using trains.
Yeah. Buses.
And buses.
It's going good. Yeah, like the buses do need some work on accessibility, and so do the trains. Like, you need assistance to go on, ramp assistance to go on the train.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, not other than that, but it does need some work. But it's going good so far.
So you have 8 counties to go. Which is your favourite so far?
Galway probably, yeah.
Oh, good man.
I thought you were going to get yourself back into the good books by saying Monaghan.
No.
I haven't even been there yet.
No, there's nothing to do there.
I'll make a cup of tea.
Fantastic.
But with Jimbo's accessible adventures, which people can see, and you're doing great work in highlighting what you can. He's loving that he's taking Tommy to town today. It's amazing. What you're doing that because you're in your motorised chair.
Yeah.
Which is an awful lot bigger.
Yeah.
So is it like? It is. So you're seeing that things are good in public transport. Like they've gotten better over the years.
Yeah. The US is the best public transport we have.
It is.
Now we're miles behind the Scandinavian. We're not miles behind, but we're kind of like we're miles ahead of other countries. But we're
like Brussels.
Yeah.
You were in Brussels, weren't you?
Yeah.
We couldn't get around.
You couldn't get around.
Parliament, excellent, absolutely excellent, but Brussels itself, not not at all.
Where the
so,
European
even
Parliament
if you
is based.
yeah. So even if you think about Baywatch, I mean, that would be it's so progressive, what these
Freedom
guys
for
are
us we're
doing. Go to Brussels as a city, and we couldn't get into one restaurant, coffee shop, anywhere, nothing.
Is Ireland getting a compliment?
I mean,
Ireland is definitely getting a compliment. But we
compliments.
actually are much further ahead, and having these kind of progressive ideas and awareness campaigns, it does actually greatly help.
We're still behind South Korea, Dubai, all the, Sweden, Norway. All these places have what's it called? Where you just go on the train. You have a single
Level platform.
Level
level
platforms
platform,
where you
yeah.
can just go
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
You have to pre-book a ramp, don't you?
Yeah.
Here, yeah.
We're getting there. We're in the right
Yeah,
path.
yeah,
and I
yeah.
think with this, with the disabled drivers and people actually being more aware
Yeah.
about it as well. And of course, the campaign that you're doing, Baywatch, how can people find out more about that?
Yeah, if they go to our Facebook page, that's Disabled Drivers, Facebook/Disabled Drivers, and they can go on because basically we have a survey monkey at the moment asking, would you like to see the legislation to be changed? And it's basically yes or no.
Okay.
And if you just tick
Very
that,
interesting.
and it's ticking up the numbers as we go on. And we've only one no. I don't know who gave it, but we've one no at the moment.
That the
And
legislation
we've about
should be changed
150.
in order
Yes.
for people to be fined.
Yes, in private car parks.
In private car parks.
Yeah.
Richard Ryder, thank you so much.
Thank
and
you
Vicky
so
and
much.
James Cashley, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank
Well,
you
not
for...
so sure about that. to be
Thank you
honest.
for Posh Boy here.
we'll be
I don't know
happy
what he's going to do for the rest of the
From
day.
Monaghan.
It's been a pleasure.
Very
Thank
much,
you so much.
James.
089
You're not welcome back now.
089 611 and to the people of Monaghan. Sorry about that.
I mean, we're screwed, aren't we?
We'll be back with you
Tell it
shortly
as it
on
is.
Ireland AM.
Very welcome back. Anton Savage from News Talk is here to go through the biggest stories making this morning's papers. Good morning,
Morning,
to
Tony.
you. Anton, we're going to start with the front of the Daily Mail. So now Taoiseach Leo Varadkar and Tánaiste Micheál Martin are denying that they knew anything about this secret plan for refunds on the nursing home charges. This came out Sunday, I think.
Sunday, correct. This is one of those where it is extremely complex, and the Irish Daily Mail and the Irish Daily Mail on Sunday deserve some credit for making the running on this, because it has been them who broke it on Sunday and are following up today. But it's quite a complicated and confusing story.
Good,
not because of the manner.
I'm trying to read it and
there's a lot.
Oh,
in
it is. Yeah, it's mad.
As far as I can understand, what it seems to be is that there was a systemic, continuing process whereby people in nursing homes were overcharged in a way that they shouldn't have been. This is across several decades. Those charges then all added up, and eventually the problem was solved by Mary Harney bringing in the Fair Deal scheme, where you can put up the family home to pay for them. Now, she didn't bring that in to solve the problem, but it had that effect. So that's effectively the timeline at which it stops. The problem was they then looked back at all this overcharging and said, well, if we go back through and pay back either the residents in the nursing home or their families or estates...
When did they find the overcharging? When did they find out about the overcharging? Did they know all along?
It says here since 2011, and this could go up to a possible of €12 billion in payouts.
So this is the issue, is that the whistleblower who has put out this information is saying successive governments knew about this, that successive ministers for health knew about this, and that there was a clear strategy to say, bury it. Effectively, don't do anything about it, because if we do something about it, we'll have to set up a compensation scheme, and we will literally spend half of the annual health budget recompensing people who currently don't know that they're owed anything. And you see, this is the issue. If you had an elderly relative in a nursing home, the relative passed away, how do you know if they were overcharged 10 years ago when they were in the home? So if you go through and you set up a compensation scheme where you find all these people, you'll pay $10 billion to do it. The Leo Varadkar has come out and said, well, this is more complex than the manner in which it's being reported. And the only thing that you would say to say, look, just if there is a pinch of salt, the one pinch of salt that you have to put to this is, much of this is based on a whistleblower's set of revelations. And Ireland's whistleblower legislation is now so copper fastened and so strong that you can't really riposte in response to a whistleblower until that goes through a formal setting.
So it has to go through formal setting.
And you need to be desperately careful about what you do in respect of whistleblowers. The entities can't come out and take them on because they are protected by the legislation. So the counterpoint will take some time. If there is a counterpoint, there may not be.
And thank God we've got strong whistleblower legislation, because everything that Maurice McCabe went through with the Gardaí, it was so important. So that is a great thing. We shouldn't do that. But at the end of this, is there going to be any accountability? Is it, because it is huge. Like, trying to follow this story since Sunday, I'm like, hold on, but who's going to, and will people find out? And is it thousands of families? Is it 5 families? It's not since the Fair Deal scheme has been set up.
That's the difficulty. If you take 10 years of residencies, more, maybe even 20 years of residencies in nursing homes, you think about how many people would be involved in this, it is going to be, if they do set up a compensation scheme, a lot of money. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is, it ain't their money. So that's the other side of this. If compensation, if they do go down the road and say, well, we're going to dig up 12 billion, where do you think the 12 billion comes from? comes from the rest of us. So there's a sense of, well, the government doesn't want to pay the government's money, but the government's going to be in a very politically interesting position if it turns to the taxpayer and says, cough up 12 billion for us to recompense other people.
And again, it's been going on for decades, we think. Okay, right.
I'm sure we're going to find out a lot more as things go on.
Definitely.
But
The Mail is going to be making the run on this for weeks.
I mean, fair play. I mean, well, the journals are working hard at the minute, but it just seems to be one thing after the other at the moment.
Well done to Craig Hughes, Michael Farrell and Brian Mahan, who were writing that story today.
Now, let's move on to, I suppose, a bit of good news for a lot of parents who are wanting to get back to work. For childminders, it looks like they're going to finally get some subsidies.
Fabulous.
Yeah, this is one of those where when people don't have children, they think, what will be expensive when I have kids? You know, they think, well, maybe if they're really successful, I have to fund Harvard, or I might send them to private school. Then they pop out of the womb within 6 months. It's like, I have to find how much to keep them in childminding?
A second mortgage.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're talking huge money, and it's obviously huger money depending on where you are around the country, but nobody's getting out of this cheap. There are a number of state schemes then that help greatly. There's the ECCE scheme, but that's one of those where when they're in the age bracket and the time bracket, it's great. If they're either side of it, you're still butched.
Yeah.
A lot of people then get child minders to mind the kids. Yeah, we all know local person around the corner keeps 5 kids
after them,
usual stuff. But in many instances, they can't be TUSLA registered because the level of costs and insurances and everything else, nobody's going to bear all of that to mind 5 kids, which means you drop into the black market. Nobody says anything to anybody else and money changes.
100%. And it is keeping the system afloat, by the way.
This is one of those, don't look at it too closely in case it goes away.
100%.
And anybody in the system knows it as well. There is no desire to have this because the whole thing just... It's a bit like the illegal aliens in America.
This is my question. With this cabinet set to approve thousands of parents to receive childminding subsidies, will this upset that for childminders?
Well, one assumes that when you get into the nitty-gritty of the legislation, there will have to be some way to find a way to register the people who are minding 4 or 5 kids like they're not an entire creche with 80 kids in it.
Yes.
So that'll be the tricky bit, is they getting them registered and normalised. But then the great news for parents is the state will be saying, here's a little check.
But is it going to be worth it for the childminders to go through this?
The
and
insurance.
Then all of a sudden, yeah. I mean, listen, we'd love to ask people at home on this. Do you have a childminder at the moment? How crucial are they for you to be able to get back to work and to be able to do your day-to-day jobs? And if you're a childminder, I mean, is this really plausible for you to sign up to become a childminder so that the parents can get the money back, but then you might be under a bit more pressure?
And let's be clear as well, I mean, not disparaging the industry, because an awful lot of them won't be, but there will be people who are doing this entirely in the black market and not stating tax in the back of it. Now you find a situation where if I have to register with one state agency, I'm sure Revenue will notice I exist, and you may have a...
This is the huge issue in relation to all of that, kind of going, what are we going to do here? Because we cannot afford to lose private childminders. Like, I don't know what, it would crumble.
Nor should we be in a situation where we're having an Irish solution to an Irish problem. There are countries, now you end up always pointing towards Scandinavia, but there are countries which do this relatively well. And let's be clear, in case somebody watching has no parents and thinks, why am I funding these parents to have their kids minded? Because that gets them back into the workforce and they pay more tax and we all benefit.
And listen, it's so important. I mean, childcare is the biggest detriment to people getting back into the workforce. Think about the amount of parents who are having to, unfortunately, can't afford to send the kids into a creche or whatever else, have to just stay at home.
Well, we would love to hear from you, whether you're a childminder, you've got a child going to a private childminder, 0896 111 111. Unfortunately,
we won't name you if you want to tell us if you are a childminder and tell us this just won't work for
100%, let us know.
Absolutely, let us know.
We don't have time to talk to Anton about him watching Elvis, the movie.
Curses.
And let's just say...
I have a lot I want to get off my
He's
chest.
got a lot of feelings.
There's a lot of anger in here.
It's not up for an Oscar.
So it is up for loads of Oscars.
Oh, yeah.
It is
Shocking,
up for
Tommy.
Oscars.
Don't get me started.
The Oscars has gone to... Oh, no, Banshees of Inisherin said...
Don't get me started
on that.
Move on, Tommy.
I really need him to come in the day after the Oscars. It's going to be amazing. Anton Savage from Newstalk, thank you so much. Alan, you liked Elvis, didn't you?
I haven't seen it yet, but I love all Baz Luhrmann's films, so I'm looking forward to it. Oh, look at him.
Remind him.
You should be voting for the Oscars too.
I'm telling you. OK, now coming up, we're going to find out how you can scatter your ashes in space. Yes, it's a real thing. We'll see in a few minutes. Thanks for staying with us. Now, would you like to have your loved one's ashes scattered in a unique and creative way?
Would you like to? Have you thought about it?
I haven't really thought about it. I do want to be cremated, but I haven't thought about how it would spread your ashes.
Blast them off in a cannon. How about sending them into space? Joining us to tell us all about it is Alex Keane from Aura Flights. Good morning, Alex. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm good, thank you.
OK, tell us how this works, because this is what you do. You send people's ashes into space.
Yes. So our scatter vessel, we can load a passenger's ashes on board it, and then we lift it up to about 100,000 feet above the Earth using a massive hydrogen-filled stratospheric balloon. So we travel up to, as I said, 100,000 feet above the Earth, where we can see the black vacuum of space. We're above 99% of the atmosphere. You can see the curvature of the Earth below. And at that altitude, the scatter vessel detects that it's reached the appropriate height and releases the ashes in a gentle cascade into space. From there, they will spread out all across the world over the next 3 to 6 months, traveling all around the globe on the stratospheric winds that encircle our planet, and eventually will make their way back down through the atmosphere, settling in with humid air and forming raindrops and snowflakes and settling across the entire planet.
It sounds wonderful when we're looking at pictures of it here, and that's the ashes being released there. And for somebody who sort of said, oh, where I want to be done there, and then if you think, like, I've relatives all over the world, and you think, oh, you might get a bit of me because I'm going to be spread across the world. Do people actually think that way?
I'm so special.
I'm so special. I want to be all over the world. Do people actually think that, like, because they just don't want to be in one place?
That's I think a really strong motivation for a lot of our passengers, a lot of families who come to us, you know, who have loved ones' ashes in their care, say that they have found it's, you know, quite difficult to pick one location, especially if you have family who are spread out, as you say. You know, you don't want to be arguing over, well, you know, this place is 35 minutes closer to my house than it is to yours, so why are we scattering it here? So a lot of our passengers are people who are passionate about travel, people who are citizens of the world who've lived in a lot of different countries. And yeah, the idea of being settled in just one place feels inappropriate.
From Ballybuffet, but I want to be in Afghanistan. Do you know, that sort of a way? So, how did you come up with the idea for this? Because we all know that story about Hunter S. Thompson, the writer, getting blasted into space, or sorry, in a cannon. His ashes were blasted out of a cannon, which is a bit extreme. So this seems quite much more gentle.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So Aura Flights is our kind of ashes scattering company, and our parent company is a company called Centre to Space, which was founded back in 2011 by two PhDs studying at the University of Sheffield, and they were primarily interested in accessing space for scientific research purposes and for testing aerospace components, parts that might be going on satellites or on rocket craft in future to validate them in the environment of space. In a more cost-effective way than just sending them up there and hoping. But as that company grew, they got inquiries from all sorts of different businesses, from cinematography companies. So they ended up doing some work on the film Gravity, among others, and from companies who wanted to do kind of big technical activations, marketing stunts, even in space. We do some educational work with schools as well. And I think the idea of scattering ashes in space was pretty close in their minds from the moment it started. The creator of Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry, had a small portion of his ashes launched on a rocket back in the 90s, I think, as a kind of a memorial to his life and his work, kind of inspiring people with science fiction. And so the founders, Chris and Alex, thought, well, how can we achieve something that's similar to this, something that offers that, but on a service that's accessible to almost anyone?
And Alex, I know there'll be a lot of people looking in this morning, and they'll go, well, it sounds wonderful, but I probably can't afford that because it's way out of our price range.
Yeah.
How much does it cost?
Budget's a hot topic in the funeral industry. So our service is priced at £2,950.
2,000, what did you say, £2,950?
2,950.
Okay.
Yes. You know, you don't have to be friends with Elon Musk. certainly. Yeah, if you think about the average cost of a funeral, you know, in the UK, in England, it's, you know, averages around £4,216.
But you do have to have the funeral because you have to have the ashes, so you have to have gone through all
but that's
that,
the thing.
do you?
Do you do the cremation?
Do you do the cremation for that price as well?
No, we don't.
Okay, you don't. Okay, so you do have to do all that.
But yes, yeah, a cremation can be as little as you know, 500, 600 euros, or, you know, kind of.
So do you, like, if someone wanted to do it here in Ireland, would we have to send the ashes over to Sheffield and all be there and watch it go up, or can you go around the world and we'll pop over?
We launch from our site. We've got a number of sites dotted across kind of Great Britain. So we move around depending on what the optimal weather conditions are for a beautiful scatter. And so we can arrange for a courier to come and collect the ashes, or people can come, and a lot of families, you know, the movement of
and very quickly
ashes is a really stressful process.
I just want to get this as well, because you video the whole thing, and then people have that video as a memory as well, and you see the ashes leaving.
Yeah, so the scatter vessel is equipped with 2 4K cameras that are documenting the entire journey up and that moment of release. Once the ashes are scattered, the balloon bursts, venting the gas, and the craft parachutes back down to Earth, where our team are on hand to collect it. And we transform that footage into a memorial video. We personalise that with you know, messages and clips, video clips, photographs from the person's life as well.
Hopefully it won't be like an ash cloud if everyone ends up going up there at some stage. Alex Keane from Aura Flights, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we believe in Unpost being able to send us through the post with our ashes. They can handle anything, so they can.
Would you do that? Let us know.
It looks lovely.
I think it really is. Now, lots more still to come this morning. Motherland's Jackie Clune stops by for a chat.
Plus, we meet RuPaul's Drag Race star Jujubee. We'll talk to you very shortly.
Hello, you're very welcome back to the show. We've still lots more to come over the next 2 hours.
Fans of the TV show Motherland, there are so many, loads of people talking about the Christmas special. They will love this. We're going to be meeting the iconic school secretary, Mrs. Lamb. Actor Jackie Clune will be here. She gets ready to take to the stage in Dublin.
Online sensation Seán Burke tells us about his new podcast, Celebrity Fans, and his hilarious sketches. Watch the one where he interviewed Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Kevin Hart last night. Very, very funny. Love that.
Smile on his face.
Imagine getting to interview them. When are they coming into our environment?
Not the show. Plus, we're going to be meeting one of the stars of the Emmy Award-winning RuPaul's Drag Race, Jujubee.
Alan, what's cooking in the kitchen?
Well, look who's here. The one and only Catherine Leyden's here. We're making soda bread.
But with a twist.
You're putting chocolate in it.
Chocolate chips and dates. Now, chocolate is optional.
In soda bread?
Yeah.
This is it here?
Yeah.
The big reveal.
The big reveal.
Yeah.
Is that the chocolate on the top?
Chocolate on top, yeah. Now, the reason it's only after coming out of the oven, Alan, is it's better served warm with butter on it and honey.
Do you see that? Look at that. Do you see that in?
It looks very well cooked.
Yeah,
it is very well baked.
It's better served not when it's not burned.
Excuse me, you.
I thought that was just
I said that to Anton
the dark
Savage.
chocolate.
I said to Anton Savage, sure as God made little green apples.
No.
He's going to say, that's boring.
As sure as what?
God made little green apples.
As sure as God made little green apples, you burnt the soda bread.
Catherine, how do you do it with him for 20 years?
I'm telling you.
I don't know how I do it. I do not know.
But I'm looking for have you ever put chocolate chips in your soda bread? I don't think that's the first.
It's a new one. Yeah,
it's
new
a
one.
first for Ireland.
It's just an Irish chocolate croissant. Our version of a chocolate croissant.
Anyway, listen,
It's going to be lovely.
Catherine.
Is there chocolate in that one in there as well? Oh, right, OK. That's coming up a little later on.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We'll start with the Irish Times. Its headline: Plans for childminder subsidies for parents go to Cabinet. Subsidies for thousands of parents using childminders will be a step closer if Cabinet approves plans for legislation aimed at paving the way for the sector's future regulation.
Window is closing on cheapest fixed-rate mortgages. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. Tracker mortgage customers with AIB and Ulster Bank have been warned they're running out of time to lock in alternative fixed rates.
Over 1 million views of anti-migrant protest streams is the top story on The Examiner. Live streams by 7 Irish YouTube accounts filming anti-migrant protests were viewed over 1 million times during the first days of 2023 amidst warnings that violent rhetoric has ramped up.
The Herald goes with "My baby never had a chance." A woman who lost her unborn child after a brutal assault by her ex-partner yesterday told the Central Criminal Court of her ordeal.
The Star leads with that same story. Monster killed his own unborn child.
The Sun leads with "I walked all over Dublin with €1 million in my back pocket." Mayo OAP syndicate chief Michael Cosgrave collected the bumper cheque at Lotto headquarters, then had to hunt for a bank to take it off him.
The Mirror goes with Ireland's drug runners aged 13. Gardaí revealed that boys of 13 are carrying drugs to addicts in Dublin's north inner city.
And finally, the Daily Mail leads with Leo signed off secret nursing home payouts. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar signed off on secret payouts for families who were overcharged for nursing home care, Department of Health documents have shown. I think following on from the story of the Irish Times talking about the plans, Roderick O'Gorman is seek to approval the change of legal status of thousands of childminders. It seems like a good idea, Alan, but some of the texts we're getting in kind of show how vital childminders are to people in getting themselves back to work.
And I think the point that you were making earlier on as well is like, because a lot of people just have somebody who comes in and pays them a few bob.
Pay them under the table,
and paying them that way. And that's how so many people are surviving at the moment. And if this comes in now and you're sort of saying, would you register for that now because we'll be able to get the few bob back from the government, people might go, hold on a second, I'll be in the system. Now, that for many it will work.
But then they'll choose, I'm not going to sign up to that. If you want to take your child out, you take your child out.
We did have a text in it there, I'm not sure where it's gone, but the like, for parents to find a good childminder, you know, they're worth their weight in absolute gold. So, I mean, like, you would obviously want to get the benefits that you can, but if you have a good one and you can afford it, people
some of the
do it.
messages here. Phyllis, I returned to work after maternity leave in March. I work shifts, so a private childminder works much better than a creche for our family. For my two children, it's €100 a day. When I return to work, my wages will just cover childcare and rent. My husband's wages will have to take care of the household and the savings.
€100 a day for the childminder.
For two children.
For two children.
Yeah, that's it.
And how much would you pay a babysitter at night time?
I am the mother of a 5-month-old. I'm constantly searching for a childminder and a creche for my little boy. I'm back to work in a month. I have creches literally laughing at me saying I should have booked a child's place before he was even born.
Yeah.
I'm at the stage where I think I will not be able to return to work due to the lack of affordable childcare availability, and that is exactly what we're hearing all over the country.
Problem.
And if these...
Well, it's just, Bernadette, really quickly, I'm a preschool provider and minders who drop to my school are planning on continuing without registering. Two-step registration involves so many hoops, expenses, and that it will not work.
Yeah.
A good childminder is worth their weight in gold. Parents will forgo any potential subsidies, and I couldn't agree more. Like, if you got to do it, you got to do it.
Let us know. I mean, because it's not cheap, childminders, but to think that you actually have to register your child before they're even born to get a place in a creche seems insane.
Well, that's been like that for years anyway.
Yeah. 0896 111 111. Do get in touch with us. We'll read them out later in the hour. We're going to take a quick break now, but after this, we're going to be meeting Motherland star Jackie Clune. We shall see you after the break. Well, she's a stand-up comic, an author, a musical star, and everyone's favourite grumpy school secretary.
I swear to God, the way she looks out of that little window. Joining us on the couch is Motherland star Jackie Clune. Before we have a lovely chat with our Jackie this morning, let's take a look at her in action.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Please ensure you take all of your children's work home with you. That's from both of us. Oh, I love it.
I love that. Good morning, Jackie. How are you doing?
Great, thank you. Lovely to be here in Ireland.
Over the last few years, of course, it started on the BBC and it's on Netflix now. Everyone knows Motherland.
Yeah, I think it just resonates with women of a certain age. You've got kids at primary school, and I mean, my kids are a little bit older now, but I certainly remember those days of having to butter up the school secretary to try and get them in if they've been a bit late or get them on a school trip. And yeah, Mrs. Lambs just really hates her life, hates her job, hates the children, hates all the parents. She thinks the school would be great if it weren't for the children and the parents. So,
I'd say,
great part.
No wonder it resonates with so many people. It's so true. I mean, it deals with the ups and the downs of motherhood. And as you mentioned there, yours are a little bit older. But you have 4 children.
I do. It's not deliberate.
Within the space of how?
When the first one was born, I had when she was 1, I had triplets. So I had 4 children under the age of 19 months.
Wow.
Yeah. I know. It was mad. And it was completely spontaneous. It wasn't, you know, I wasn't even sure I wanted children, and suddenly I had 4. But it's brilliant. I mean, they're great.
See, this is the thing. I know that there are now new mothers at home or mothers with very young children going, sorry, I don't understand what's happening now. How, in God's name, with the madness of, like, talk about Irish twins, Irish quadruplets.
Absolutely. And my family is all Irish, so they are very much, they've all got Irish names.
They're all very proud of you. Well done, Jackie. Fair play.
I don't really remember, is the honest answer. And also, my husband did a lot of it, because when they were 6 months old, I got offered the international tour of Mamma Mia. So I went to the audition, and they were like, well, how are you going to manage? You've just had triplets. What are you going to, how's that going to work? And I was like, why do you think I'm here? And I was off. I went to New Zealand. But, I mean, a lot of the time they did come with me. But
so you left the kids at home?
I left them at home, yeah, to go and earn the money to pay for them.
Well done.
Yeah.
So do you take the experiences from that for Motherland? And also you're an author as well. You've wrote books on parenting. I mean, how did you deal with that?
I think it was really fortunate that it happened to us, because we're both very laid back, and I believe in, like, benign neglect. So, you know, leave them in a room where there are no razor blades and it's a win-win, you know. It's going to be fine. Mostly it's going to be fine. And mostly it was fine. And they've all turned out pretty good, so...
What age are the triplets now?
They're 17.
Oh,
and Saoirse is 19.
How does Saoirse feel about being a Saoirse growing up in England? Is she like,
loves
Ma'am?
it. Well, I didn't factor in the fact that although I'm Irish, I have an Irish passport, Irish nationality, you know, and my whole family, I didn't factor in that I was brought up in Essex. So in the school playground, I would be shouting, Saoirse! Which sounds so horrible compared to when you say it how it should be said, and I hadn't really factored that in. But she loves her name, because then, of course, came Saoirse Ronan, so everyone knows the name now, but nobody can spell it.
No.
So she learned from a very early age to say, my name's Saoirse, S-A-O-I-R-S-E, and she just used to say it. And people were still none the wiser.
They're not. They're like, OK,
Word knows that, just even in Ireland.
I know that feeling.
One of her teachers said, what is her name again? Saoirse, Saoirse. And I was like, no, it's Saoirse. And she was like, oh, I just call her Babes.
That is the most Gemma Collins Essex thing I've ever heard in my life.
No, you won't. Her name is Saoirse.
Thank you.
That's a line I'll use in Motherland. Thank you very much.
You have gone through, we're in the midst of awards season, of course, in all of Ireland.
Yeah.
Very proud
Brilliant
about the Banshees and on Colleen
Brilliant
Hoover.
movie.
We feel like we've won an Oscar, all of us. You have, I think, quite possibly the best award I've ever heard of in my entire life. And it is Most Disappointing Lesbian of the Year, is something that you won years ago, Jackie.
Yeah, there was a lesbian magazine, and for a long time I was in relationships with women, and then I don't really know what happened, but I ended up meeting the guy who's now my husband, and we have 4 kids. And when it all came out, because I was doing stand-up comedy at the time, a magazine, a gay magazine, had end-of-year awards, and they awarded me Most Disappointing Lesbian. And I thought it was hilarious, but this was back in the early noughties when, you know, pansexuality and, you know, bisexuality was a bit more kind of controversial. And at that time, you very much had to pick a team and play for them. And, you know, now, in retrospect, I think they've sort of asked me to not say it anymore, but it is true. And I'm sorry if they're ashamed of it now, in retrospect, but at the time, I found it quite funny.
I think
Most
it's amazing.
disappointing lesbian.
And Graham Norton actually said to me, you lesbians are rubbish, you can't stick at anything. That was brilliant.
That's so amazing.
So you were a lesbian in your 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
And then you met your husband. How did that work? How did that happen?
Well, when a man loves a lady...
Yeah. Well, what about when a lady loves a lady? But how did you... Because you were a very strong feminist at that stage as well.
I mean, I still am, and I'm still big. I suppose I would say probably I'm bisexual. That's what people would say now, which feels a bit weird when you've been with the same person for 20 years. It feels like, you know, cheating. You know, it's a bit of an odd thing. I don't know. It's a weird conversation. But I think the sexuality is a continuum for most people. Some people are 100% gay. And I completely buy that. They feel like they came out of the womb like that. Some people are very flexible, and most of us, or some people are completely straight, and most people are somewhere in the middle, depending on what happens in your life.
And now you're in, which leads really nicely into the fact that you're in the gender bending sort of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, the 50th anniversary.
Yeah, very at home in that world.
You know, which is like that was it's still a phenomenon to this day for what it is that it does. So you're the narrator. What are you doing in it?
I'm the narrator, and I'm supposed to be the sensible one, but I'm the only one who gets to talk back to the audience. So, like, starting in stand-up, as I did with Deirdre O'Kane, who's one of the great stars of Ireland. The pair of us met in Melbourne, and I was doing a lot of stand-up at the time, and going back to that now feels really like a good place for me. I get to chat to the audience, crack on with them, and try and control the madness a little bit, because I still don't really know what it's about. It's about two virginal American teenagers whose car breaks down and they end up in a haunted house, like you do, that's owned by an alien transvestite, and then all hell breaks loose. And what happens after that, I don't really know, but it's terrific fun. Amazing to see live audiences back again, all together, enjoying that. It's a bit like sort of church. It's a bit like a sort of... It's a religion, Rocky Horror, and people come along and they all know the shout-outs and they all know the banter that, you know, that goes with the show, and they love the songs, and it's really a community event.
It's a cult status, hasn't it? Do you find that, like, last night was the first show, is that right? Are the fans on a different level, do you find, with this show?
You feel a real sense of duty that you have to get it right for them.
There's pressure.
Yeah, they invest a lot in it. People come in all sorts of ill-advised lingerie, and you know, it's a celebration. It's a celebration of, you know, people just thinking, "What the hell? Let's go out and have fun," which I love.
But I can imagine ill-advised lingerie.
Do you pull them up? Do you kind of...
No. I inwardly judge, though.
If you're going tonight, it's going to be fun. It has been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
The Rocky Horror Show. It's in Bordgosh, the Bordgosh Energy Theatre, 30th of January to the 4th of February. Jackie Clune, I hope you have a good crack when you're here. Lovely chatting with you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for joining us.
That was a bit of crack.
Alan, are we going to have another biology lesson in the kitchen?
No, but I tell you what, Jackie, you've got to get Tommy up to do the time warp. Let's do the time warp. Come on, Tommy.
I think when we saw my dancing yesterday, Al, it's not going to happen.
It's the pelvic thrust.
It's the pelvic thrust. Tommy does a great pelvic thrust.
Jackie, I'll maybe... so when's it on? January 4th? Yeah, I'm actually very busy.
February the 4th.
February, thank you, Jackie. At the Bordgosh right now. Soda bread with a twist is on the menu after the break. Now, there's nothing nicer than a traditional soda bread, but today we've thrown the rule book out of the window and we're adding something extra.
Yeah, Catherine Leyden is here. And Warren said it earlier, it kind of is like our own, like a pan au chocolat, but for soda bread.
Correct.
With the chocolate in it.
Yeah.
And it's
dates.
tasty. I like it.
Do you like it? Do you like it, Alan? No, not too sure now. Look at the head on that. Look at the head on that.
It's the only head I've got. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Catherine. It's the only head I've got.
30 seconds ago, he was just polishing half of them off, so it mustn't be too bad.
Thank you, darling. Thank you.
No,
now,
it's
350 grams, 12 ounces of our cream plain flour. And to that, we're going to add a 2-ounce, 50-gram block of butter or margarine. And you just, with the tips of your fingers, rub that through until the mixture resembles fine breadcrumbs. Now, you don't have to worry too much at this early stage once you've roughly broken it down, because we're going to be rubbing again when we put in the other ingredients.
Or we get a shot of this.
No, sir.
Oh, look at this.
He's there scooping out all the chocolate out
He's
of it.
not, is he?
He is, yeah.
The chocolate actually is optional.
Well, it's very tasty, I think, Catherine.
Yeah, I think it's a nice combination, the dates and the chocolate. So anyway, rub the butter through, or the margarine through. Now, to that, we're going to add a good pinch of mixed spice.
Oh, right.
Yeah, mixed spice.
That was in there.
A good pinch of cinnamon. So it is very,
you don't taste that at all in this, because the chocolate is so overwhelming in it.
Maybe I put too much chocolate in there.
No, you didn't, Catherine. It's gorgeous.
It's lovely.
Listen to him. You can definitely taste the cinnamon.
Good pinch of salt. And now a teaspoonful of bread soda, because we're using buttermilk or sour milk like you do with traditional brown bread.
Oh, right, OK.
So buttermilk, bread soda and sour milk.
Why is that now? Just
because bread
cancels
soda,
each other out kind of thing? Or
No,
something?
bread soda and sour milk. I'm going to be technical now. Bread soda and sour milk give off a gas that expands when heated. So that's the raising agent.
I'm struggling to keep up with everything here today.
We have the man worn out. Teaspoonful of bread soda. Now, bread soda is prone to lumping, so do rub it through a sieve or push it through a sieve. So there we have the butter, flour, salt, cinnamon, mixed spice, and the pinch of salt. And, of course, the bread soda, right? Now, here I have my 150 grams, 5 ounces of chopped dates. And I'm going to add to that 3 ounces, 75 grams of chocolate chips. These are optional. You can leave them out if you wish. And just
Should the dates be optional and keep the chocolate?
You could.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting.
For the chocolate.
Another slant on it. So now there we have the dry ingredients all together in the bowl. And I've measured out in the jug there 300 mils, that's half pint of buttermilk or sour milk. To that we're going to add 1 egg. Now, for the traditional soda bread, you don't normally add an egg, so you get a whiter bread if you're just making plain soda bread. But I find it gives a richer flavour and it lasts longer. So about 2 tablespoonfuls of honey. And when you're serving it, you can have it with honey, if you wish, with the butter, or just as is. Now, we just combine the egg, honey and buttermilk together. Now, you could do this with a fork.
We're there all day.
You'd be there all day, exactly. On an Ireland day, and we don't have that time, so now we're going to gradually add the milk, because depending on how accurate you are with the weighing of your ingredients, you may add a little less or a little more, it depends.
What did you used to say had to have a cold spoon or something, was it?
For pastry.
Pastry, was it? Okay.
Dip the spoon in hot water.
Oh, the hot water.
Oh, that's for the hot water's for syrup or honey. But you see, with the squeezy thing, you can just squeeze it out.
What was the cold one for? Pastry.
Cold roast pastry. Yeah. God, Tommy, he's learning, isn't he?
He's learning. But like Tommy actually does go and make these things. I don't.
We make cupcakes at the weekend. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Which is very easy, but the kids love it.
The children love it. Yeah,
I love it. Yeah.
Now, just make a nice soft dough, and then we turn that out onto the lightly floured board. And I couldn't find my flour dredger this morning, so...
Couldn't find your what?
My flour dredger.
What's a flour dredger?
For shaking the flour out on the board at the table.
Oh, right.
So I put some into a bowl here for you.
Oh,
Just
you mean a thing? All right.
The shaker, you know, that has the flour in it.
Sure, for God's sake, just stick your hand in and do it, for God's sake.
But she's got all the gadgets.
That's what most of us do. Yep. Into the packet of flour. Now, just tip it out of the bowl. Now, you see, it's quite a soft textured mixture. If that's too dry, you're going to have a dry bread afterwards. So now we just, again, with the help of the spatula, scoop all the mixture off. And then you just lightly knead it, which means bringing it together. Now, don't spend
This is the important part, isn't it, really?
It is, yeah, because you see, if you're too rough with this, it's going to get heavy and soggy.
All right.
So just roll it around gently a few times, and then into a tin or in a flat tray which I have in the oven, which I'm going to take out now.
I'll get your one out now. While you continue
like
there.
That. Top in your bread.
I'll take this one here.
And then
I'll
we just
eat it for you now.
Roll it round in the tin. Now, the tin is just dusted with flour. Just gently press it down.
Okay, right.
Now, look at this.
And does it need to be pushed down
And
all the
then-
way to the edges?
No.
Okay,
Swing it
so
around
keep
like
a
that.
bit of a gap in the on it. Okay.
And it will spread a bit during baking. And then do the famous cut across the top.
Yeah.
And into a preheated oven, 200 centigrade, 400 Fahrenheit, gas mark 6. Now, if your oven is a little on the hot side, as this one was today,
Oh, that's the blame.
turn it down.
Your oven's, the oven's too hot.
Now,
Someone.
turn
Look
it out
at
of the
that.
tin. And you see, by doing it on the flat tray, it spreads a bit more.
Yeah. Now, Catherine, in fairness...
It's
Hollow
gorgeous.
sound,
Listen.
and it's baked.
I love it.
And what I like to do at this stage is just wrap it in a tea towel and leave it turned upside down on the board of the table.
Why do you leave it upside down?
The heat in the form of steam
Oh,
comes
it's
out through the top,
Yeah.
and you get a nice soft crust on it.
And there it is there.
So there it is,
And it
ready
is.
for action.
It's delicious.
With butter
Thumbs up.
or honey, or just as is.
Catherine's gorgeous. Thank you so much.
My pleasure,
Thank
lads.
you, Catherine. Always a pleasure. Break time now, Muireann. What's on the way?
We're chatting about Boston. We're trying to do Boston accents over here.
Boston
Whatever.
accents?
Boston accents, where Jujubee is from, right?
Yes, of course.
And getting her fabulous we've got a good Irish accent as far as I know as well. So we're going to be chatting to the wonderful drag performer Jujubee from RuPaul's Drag Race after the break. Talk to you shortly. She's well done.
Thanks for staying with us now. Our next guest is an international drag diva, best known for her multiple appearances in RuPaul's Drag Race franchise.
Before we chat to the dazzling Jujubee, let's take a look at her in action.
Why should you win RuPaul's Drag Race?
I have the full package. I have personality, I have sense of style, and I have great big white teeth. I just want to look good. First things first, right? I was born a drag queen. When I came out, I had a MAC lip gloss in one hand. The other one was a jazz hand. Everybody do a jazz hand with me, darling. Woo! She's still a good girl, so she's not on the naughty list.
Oh my goodness, that's Jujubee, the Beaster Bunny. When the haters attack, hey ladies, clap back, get your girl side by side. Don't you hold it in, clap back, speak your mind, say it twice so they don't forget.
That's what we needed this morning, Jujubee.
Thank you for having me.
You're just sitting there going, I can't look, I can't look.
listen to myself, I can't watch myself, but I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
But the fact that you can't listen or watch yourself because you are a main staple in the RuPaul world.
Oh, stop.
You've made it to the finale 4 times.
4 times. Isn't that crazy?
Of RuPaul, and you've never won the thing. You must be fuming.
You know what? I'm here. I think I've already won.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
That's true.
I
That's
get to
true.
do theater. I get to travel the world. I'm very
It's good.
grateful.
Yeah.
It really is, though. I mean, it's amazing how drag has become so mainstream now. I was even chatting to a taxi driver recently who said, do you watch... Ginny said to me, you're gay, do you watch that RuPaul Drag Race? Because myself and my wife watch it all the time now. And I was like, it has become this massive mainstream thing thanks to RuPaul.
Yeah.
And it has opened up so many doors for so many drag queens around the world.
Yeah, I honestly, what I've learned is drag is for everybody. And it's so accessible, and it's so loving and accepting. And RuPaul's just done this magical job. It's everywhere now.
Yeah. And for you, look, when did you start doing drag?
My Halloween, when I was 16.
Okay.
It was just a little dabble, and I think it was just to feel some sort of magic that I never felt before. I call my drag kind of my Superman to my Clark Kent. You know, it's a cape, and I think for me, I had to put on so much stuff to reveal exactly who I was, which I think is really gorgeous.
That's such a beautiful way of putting it.
Right?
Like putting on layers and layers and layers, but this is you.
And then it's like, oh, here I am, you know?
And was this in a local bar or something like that, or was it just a party or something?
It was at a Halloween party, and it was a
Halloween
dare.
party.
And it was the first time that I looked in the mirror and I said, "Wow, this is pretty great. I really want to keep looking at this person.
Yeah.
This isn't me, but it is. It's RuPaul always says drag is an extension of who you are, and I think we all have drag, you know."
And when you decided, you know, this is for me, when something clicked with you.
Yeah.
What's it? Because I'm assuming now it's normalised, which is fantastic and a beautiful thing. But it wasn't like that.
No.
Just a decade ago.
No,
it
not
wasn't
at
at
all. Not at all. For me, it was my love of theater was really what it was for me.
Okay.
And when I went to college, I studied theater. I couldn't really find roles to audition for, but drag was there for me. And that's how I got on stage, and the stage is the place where I feel most at home. And now I'm here, working the stage at the Gaiety.
At the Gaiety, and we'll talk about that in a moment.
It's a Gaiety.
The Gaiety Theatre.
I'm mispronouncing
it. What are you calling it?
The Gaiety. Because I'm American.
The Gaiety.
Is that wrong?
The Gaiety Theatre. Well, we can call it whatever you want. You're appearing there. You're appearing there. Where did the name come from?
Jujubee?
Yeah.
From my drag mother. And her name is Charisma Geneva Jackson Tay.
I love it.
So glad I only have one name. It's like Cher.
Explain to people what what is a drag mother?
A drag mother is somebody who has basically been through the world of drag. They teach you what drag is. My drag mother taught me more of how to be and how to be respectful of the art. Because, you know, sometimes you move into a space, you don't know what it is, you only see what the visual is. But it's to appreciate that drag is art, and it's acting, it's performing, it's makeup, it's dancing. I can't dance.
And the fact that you had a drag mother like that, because I think a lot of people might think, when you watch RuPaul's Drag Race, they can be quite bitchy.
Sure.
And a lot of people do feel, oh, that whole scene is quite bitchy, and they all hate each other.
Sure.
They're all like scratching each other's eyes out.
Yeah.
But there is a sense of community among you all.
Of course, It's basically putting people who always felt kind of left out and alone in a room together.
Yeah.
So it's really tense, but then you find the love in it.
Yeah.
You know, it's really all about love. I do sass. I'm not so bitchy.
That's
maybe.
Sass.
Well, it's a
Is
TV.
that what you call it?
Well, it's a TV show as well.
Of
You know, we need
course.
to have that little bit of... And you keep going back for a reason.
Yeah, back for more, which is coincidentally the name of my last album.
Oh, there we go.
That's what you did. Because you've gotten to do theatre, you've gotten to release music, and it's all in the back of it, first appearing this in 2010.
Yeah.
So it did elevate you to a different level.
Oh, yeah, I was 25, wide-eyed, so hungry just for the world, and now I'm 38. And I look great. And
you do?
Thank you. There's no work, just a lot of makeup. And just work.
Just work. But getting to do all of that, because it has like you get to travel everywhere now. Because you're at this level. Would you ever be a drag mother to someone?
Absolutely not.
No.
I'm a cat parent. That's who I am.
Okay.
Cats.
You're not willing to do...
Oh,
that. No. A lot of work.
No.
A lot of work in that.
Do you want me to be your drag mother? I'll be your drag mother.
I've never done drag in my life.
Really?
We've never made you do it on this show.
No. Oh, I did. I dressed as Cher.
Oh, come on.
I dressed as Cher. Remember, I dressed as Cher. That was the only time I've ever done it. I dressed as Cher.
I want to see a picture so badly.
You look really good, actually. I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
What Cher? What Cher was it?
Oh, in the full leather thing.
If I could turn back time.
The turn back time.
Yeah.
I did that for Snatch Game.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you what Snatch Game is. Let's move on. You're in Debt Drop 2 at the Gaiety.
At the Gaiety?
Gaiety.
Starting tonight until the 4th.
This is Back in the Habit.
Back in the Habit, yeah. It's a murder mystery.
Yeah. So what? Tell us more about it.
So, I mean, imagine just taking your favourite drag stars. Me, we have Victoria Scone. Is that how you say it? Victoria Scone or Scone? I say Scone.
Scone. I say Scone. Yeah.
We have Cheryl Hole.
Yeah.
And then Kitty Scott Claus. I know
the names
it's
are
morning television.
I know, that's why I was just going, okay, keep it clean.
Yeah. So imagine taking your favorite drag stars and a scary movie like Scary Movie itself and putting it on stage. It's fun, you're gonna laugh, you're gonna be terrified, maybe cry, and show up to find out who the murderer is.
Could be you.
It probably is me. I was the murderer in Death Drop 1.
Well, then they're not going to have you in Death Drop 2 doing the same thing.
We don't know that.
We don't know.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
This is Death Drop 2, Back in the Habit. It's at the Gaiety, 31st of January till the 4th of February. You have been here many times before. Victoria's Secret has brought you out around Ireland.
Bestie.
What's your? Because I know you went.
Great,
I know you went to Charlie's at one stage. If you've
my
been to
God,
Dublin, you know
that's
about
a late
Charlie's.
night then. That was after the George or somewhere, was it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It was delicious.
What's your Irish accent?
Hey, how's your ma? Is your dad working? And thanks a million, love.
Oh, thanks a million.
Thanks a million.
Or as I say, thanks a thousand. Thanks a million, yeah. Victoria will be looking after you all week, no doubt.
I hope so.
Yeah, she will. Thanks a million for coming in.
Thanks a million
for having me, love.
Love it.
I'll see you tonight.
That was
See you
good.
tonight at the Gaiety.
At the Gaiety.
We're just going to let them do their thing. He's going to start teaching you Ballymun now. It's going to be...
What's that?
Is that what you're going to do?
Oh, no, you don't want to know.
That's where he's from.
Jujubee, thank you so much.
Pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much. Still to come in the final hour, bookworm Ciara King is going to be reviewing her top reads. There's one in there that a lot of people are loving, hating at the moment.
What's that?
Colleen Hoover. It ends with us.
Okay, we chat to comedian Seán Burke. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Welcome back. Coming up this hour, we have got beauty, books, and belly laughs, Tommy.
Here's hoping. So that's every hour. Yes, coming up very shortly, he's known for his hilarious sketches, which have amassed millions of views online. Comedian Seán Burke is going to be here for a chat.
Plus, bookworm Ciara King is here to give her verdict on some of the latest releases. Ciara, she's holding a book that I think I'd like to stab with a knife.
Really?
Yeah. What are we talking about, Ciara?
We are going to be chatting about one of the most read books in the last year and a book that is featured on the top 10 lists across the world. We might be talking about this guy that you might have heard of him. His name is Prince Harry. And we're also going to be talking about a massive buzzword that is linked to a book that is a bestseller this January.
Okay,
Fantastic.
wow.
You're
What
mad to talk about Harry, aren't you?
What a tease that was.
There we
Love
go.
it. I'm actually
Here is that.
excited about that. Alan, you'd be excited about that?
I can't give you a good as tease as that now. Sorry.
Come on now.
Excuse me.
Jennifer.
It's even better. It's even better. The skin nerd is with us. Good morning to you, Jennifer.
morning.
What are we going to be looking at
A
this
little
morning?
bit of vitamins, natural ingredients, and I have no comment on Harry, so this is what I have.
He looks after his skin.
Could he use some retinol? No, he's
SPF, I would say, would be a good
SPF.
start.
All right.
SPF with a great
Jennifer is
California.
also staying with us to answer your questions. So if you have a skin-related question and you want to get an answer from the professional, send them into 089 611 111. You would not believe the conversation we are having here. You actually would not believe. We will let you into it now in a second.
Will we start with it?
Yeah, well, let's start with it. I tell you why we're talking
We
about
were
it.
chatting earlier on to someone who provides a service whereby your ashes can go up into space to 100,000 feet and then they're let go and they disperse around the planet, landing
So think of the
anywhere.
Icelandic ash cloud. This is a whole different level.
It's
no
so
one will be able to
small.
fly anywhere.
It's lovely.
So-
I think it was really nice. You're dispersed worldwide.
Keane says, now we've got to breathe in people's ashes. That's absolutely disgusting and it can't be good for the atmosphere.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there's,
And
I think there's a lot worse things happening to the
We were
atmosphere.
saying to Tommy, I think we're breathing in a lot worse than that at the moment.
And you're breathing in other people's skin cells all of the time. Like
Yeah,
you're
but
breathing in other people all of the time.
Dumping your
All the
ashes
time.
over people.
But Tommy,
It's
what
not
did
really
you
that
say
nice,
you'd
is
prefer
it?
to do?
Right, not eat it.
No, but you do what quicker?
What?
Drink what?
I don't know.
I prefer to drink pee from people who pee in the pool. That's what he said.
But a mouthful of bones, burnt ashes.
We've had a very
No?
high level
Oh,
of
God.
conversation
This is
during the
the
news.
Would you prefer? We'll do it. We'll get the poll up.
How
will we?
about this? Noel, my son-in-law's father worked in aerospace, and when he died last year, they sent him into space in a capsule. We watched it blast off, and you can track him for 2 months. It was incredible. The best funeral ever.
Send him up in the capsule, no problem. But dump in the ashes. Listen, we've loads of messages in through as well, but lots of other topics, and we're not going to be able to get through them. But Caroline said, I'm a preschool provider. We were talking about the childcare and subsidies for child carers. I'm a preschool teacher. One of the main reasons childminders don't want to register is because they're paid in the black. They should have the same accountability as creches in terms of insurance, first aid courses, basic childcare qualifications, fire regulation policies and procedures. And that is exactly why I don't think a lot of child carers
They're not going
would
to
like
sign up to the
sign up
subsidies
to it.
because
They really
they can't afford to do that if you're minding 3 children. You know,
Yeah,
so it's not
no.
going to happen. And
Anyway.
it keeps going. Thank you for all of your messages today. But up next, Ciara
Any
King.
more thoughts on the ashes?
Is-
Keep them coming in.
We won't have time, but up next, Ciara King will be reviewing the latest literary releases, even if some of them are out for like 6 years. We'll talk to you shortly.
The latest literary.
Welcome back. I love when we get to do this on the show. It's time to discuss some of the best books that are in the charts right now, including, just take a breath, we're not going to be talking about it for long, Prince Harry's memoir, A Guide to Manifestation, okay, and success of one author thanks to BookTok, which is on TikTok.
Okay, so listen, we could just get you to do this, but thankfully we have broadcaster Ciara King to talk us through them instead. Ciara, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Listen, let's just get it out of the way. Harry's book sold 20,000 copies in Ireland in the first week, I think it was.
Yeah.
Incredible bestseller. Is it any good?
Now, it's the main thing that everyone's been talking about for December and January. So we'll talk about, I know people are probably done with the hot takes on Prince Harry, but I will say it is a real good lesson in, you know, the snippets that were leaked to the press. That was not what was in the actual book. And also I want to point out J.R. Mowringer is the ghostwriter, and I think he's kind of got lost in this whole kind of Harry narrative about the whole book. But as Irish people, it was one of the best-selling books since records began 20 years ago in Ireland, beating Paul O'Connell's The Battle in 2016. How are we supposed to feel about that as Irish people? I'm not OK with it, guys. But
A royal beating our own royal.
But our own royal, our own
Yeah.
royal redhead. You know what I'm trying to say? Like the battle of the redheads there. But
Been a long time since
so
we
we
saw
need to
his
kind of
red
look
hair.
at that. But
Paulie, you know what to do. You give him that text. Give out to him.
So look, as I said, there's so many hot takes and different takes on this book. But statistically, it is one of the best-selling books in the world.
But
It's
as a
beaten Barack
book,
Obama.
is it good? Like, do you know, we've seen all the snippets. I
Yeah.
feel like I've
Yeah.
read the book, even though...
So many of my friends have said the same thing, and I'm like, you haven't.
But
Do you know?
so is it worth actually going and buying it?
J.R. Mowringer is a brilliant ghostwriter. He wrote Andrew Agassi's Open, which is one of the best sports book of all time. Myself and yourself were chatting about it
Love it. Absolutely
earlier.
incredible,
So
yeah.
he does a massive justice to Harry's voice, let's say. There's things in the book that shouldn't have been mentioned. I'm sorry, Frostbite and Todger. Nobody wanted to talk about that.
Yes, we did.
And did we want to talk about that? For me, I was like, there was no point of that being part of the book. He
Or
talked
putting
about
cream on it. I mean, I don't need to know, Harry.
Elizabeth Arden's people going, why have you done this to us?
Yeah, I know. None of us really needed to know. His father, Prince Charles, comes out looking really well. He comes across like he's a really good dad. Prince William, not so much. Definitely massive trauma was suffered by Harry. I don't think you need to be a psychologist to kind of figure that out by any means. And he's crazy in love with Meghan.
So...
OK, so that's pretty much everything that I've read anyway.
But it's fascinating that if you read the book, you do get something
you
different
get more
from
than
it.
what you're reading about in the press. You get more than the little snippets that you're reading about and stuff like that. And also, for 20 million, you know, I'd sell out my family too.
What would you give it out of... Oh, my God.
Not if you already have 20 million.
Well, true, actually, true.
What would you give it out of 5?
Oh, out of 5, I'd say 3.
3?
Yeah,
okay.
Genuinely. So if you're on the fence about it, because it has been doing the rounds now for a while, it is a good read, and it's a family. It's about a family, really. If you take the royal family out of it, it's about a person's relationship with their family, their dad and their brother after their mum has passed away.
Now let's move on to a book that has been out for 8 years, going on 9 years now, but it has become a worldwide phenomenon in the past 2 years
because of booktok.
Because of booktok.
Because of booktok. And I don't know. Have you ever heard of Wattpad?
No.
So about 14 years ago, Wattpad was this like new thing on the internet where people who were fans of particular bands, let's say One Direction, would go on Wattpad and they'd write this ridiculous fan fiction about their favourite band or their favourite TV character. And I went down the rabbit hole. Oh my God, it is not for the light-hearted, can I just say. But Stephanie Meyer, she wrote...
Why not for the faint-hearted? Just, like, brutally honest? Or like...
No, just wild, Tommy. Like, but wild, I can't even describe to you. OK, so I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So One Direction, so if there was a fan of One Direction, they used to write all these crazy stories about the One Direction boys. And in every story, the One Direction boys ended up with each other. Because female fans of One Direction couldn't bear the lads ending up with anybody else. Like, just wild stuff. Like, Tommy, I'll send you on some stuff later.
Oh, it sounds riveting, to be honest.
I've actually read some of their fan fiction and I was like, OK,
we used to read it on nighttime radio and it was wild.
What do you guys do with your time? Right, OK.
We don't have babies.
So we have the likes of Twilight and we have the likes of 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades was written as fan fiction about Twilight. So you have all these kind of Twilight, 50 Shades, Anna Todd's After series as well, which was based on Harry Styles' One Direction fan fiction as well. And these books are just blowing up. Now you've got TikTok, and now we have Colleen Hoover, who's written books along these same lines, fan fiction, really, and they've blown up all around the world. She's sold 20 million books.
Wow.
She has been on the New York Times bestsellers for the last 2 years. This book that she wrote was 8 years ago, but fans found it and they made it huge on the internet. They also demanded a sequel. So fans are demanding what this woman writes about, which is incredible when you think about it.
It's got 2.4 billion views, her hashtag Colleen Hoover.
Yeah,
I mean,
she's got fans.
But she's no publisher. Like, no, she hasn't gone...
She hadn't. And what she did was she released the books for free. And then fans came along and found some of her books, and then that's when it exploded all over the internet.
So can we, I was talking to the fantastic author Louise O'Neill once, who told me how important booktok is. It can make or break a book. So this is where they really love a book and they talk about it so much. What is It Ends With Us about?
It is about a florist who moves to Boston. Her father has just passed away, and this super gorgeous, rich neurosurgeon falls in love with her.
A Christian Grey type character.
Yes,
and she is a simple girl. Is she clumsy?
She's not clumsy, no, but she's just a total loner. You know, she's 23 and she's... But they're infatuated with each other. It's the same as Twilight. It's the same as 50 Shades. It's the same as Anna. It's this... The ingredients in this book, we've seen it before, but you mightn't agree with what the book is about or the certain themes in it, but it is super, super popular.
Is it good? Did you enjoy reading it?
I didn't enjoy reading it. No, I didn't enjoy reading it because straight away I saw that it was like the Twilights and the 50 Shades. And I'm not dissing them by any means because they're fantasy and people are into them. And there's obviously a massive market for them. She has a really great way of... She has that ingredient where it's a page-turner. Even though you're reading it and you're like, oh, this is not for me. You are turning the page and you are reading it and you're getting to the end. And then obviously fans are demanding a second book, a second sequel. So, like, you kind of have to go... you kind of have to go, there's a huge market for this. We need to talk about this.
So It Ends With Us is the first book. She's written It Starts With Us, and that's the sequel, and they want another one as well. And now Blake Lively is going to star in the movie adaptation of It Ends With Us.
Yes.
Yes, so this is a huge thing. A lot of people are giving out about it because it's a lot of coercive control and him treating her really badly and her saying, well, if he treats me badly, he loves me.
Yeah.
And when you're a teenager, that's, you know, slightly dangerous.
Yeah, but Colleen Hoover has fans called cohorts. Like, she's like Lady Gaga of the publishing world. Wow. It's this really weird new phenomenon that is kind of coming up.
Social media, isn't it? The power of TikTok and stuff as well.
But she's got to a stage where she had to put up security around her house because people are taking, her TikTok followers are taking photos of her driveway in Texas because she wrote a book. So we need to think about that, guys.
Have you a star rating for this one?
Oh, I would, God, 2. I think I'm being generous.
I think you're being
I think I'm being generous.
Quite generous there.
Okay, let's move on to the final one, manifest.
Yes, so this is a buzzword that's been doing the rounds with a lot of gurus and kind of self-wellness gurus over the last couple of years. This is Roxy Nafari, and she is, this is her second book, Nafusi, sorry, and this is her second book, A Manifestation. And look, I'm kind of one of those people, I'm like, try whatever you have to do. If you want a better life, try whatever. This is a beautifully presented book. There's gorgeous little exercises in it about manifestation, but I wouldn't bank my whole new life on actual manifesting.
Was The Secret based on manifesting, wasn't
it? Kind of. It's all about putting it out there to the universe. As I said, it's like this buzzword that's been used, positive vibes. And unfortunately, the reality of life, you can't have positive vibes all the time. And this book is full of
they pay the
all
bills.
of those buzzwords.
I'm going to pay my bills on positive vibes.
Yeah, and my worry is that someone will read this and take it as Bible and say, do you know what, I'm going to manifest the life of my dreams if I follow these step-by-steps.
But what are we getting from this book that we didn't get? The first book was just called Manifest. This is Manifest Dive Deeper. So are we getting new exercises? Or?
There's new exercises, and it's more about like diving deeper to like 100% heal yourself. Like get to the stage where you can, you know, where you do exercises, where you talk about stuff that will inevitably heal yourself.
Is it a self-help book? Is that what it is?
It is a self-help book, yeah.
And are there pages?
The power of positive thinking.
So this is what I always think. It's a workbook.
Yeah, it's a workbook. So there's different exercises that you can do in it. And I think journaling is a really good thing, by the way.
Yeah.
So if something makes you sit down and kind of think for a second, well then great, you know. But then there's stuff like, you know, full moon rituals that you can do, and you know, stuff that kind of gets a little bit woo-woo, as she says herself, by the way. That's not my, that's not me saying it.
On the whole, like journaling, writing down your thoughts, sometimes, you know, looking forward and trying to plan things is not a bad thing.
It's all about vision boards.
very sceptical, but...
No. It's great, but you can also buy a copybook for €1 and do that yourself. A lot of the time I find that these things cost 50 quid and it's just... It's just pages that you can write stuff on in a copy. You know, I find that a bit tough.
Yeah, I guess there's more guidance, though, in that particular one. But what I will say is, though, if you are trying to change your life, I wouldn't 100%, you know, think that manifestation is going to miraculously change your life for you. I'd use this as a little homework for yourself.
Yeah, now to be fair, there is homework there. So, like, you wouldn't be able to do that yourself.
And isn't it good, though, like, to say, we all say about practicing gratitude. Sometimes it's really hard to do, but when you actually sit down and do it, it's not a bad thing, is it?
I have to say,
it's only a good thing.
In the world at the minute, everything is so negative. We're going through tough times at the minute. A bit of positive thinking is good for everybody.
I agree.
Kira King, broadcast, thank you so much for doing that.
You're very welcome.
Brilliant, yeah, interesting.
Very good.
You take that home with you now.
Manifesting book coming out, do you?
Still to come, we're going to meet the comedy sensation Seán Burke.
Well, you know. And the Skin Nerd, she will be answering your skin-related questions. If you've got anything, it's 089 611 111. We'll be back with you on Ireland AM very shortly. We'll manifest it. We'll be back, won't we?
Well, our next guest is a comedian well known for his witty sketches, which have amassed over 2 million likes on TikTok.
Before we chat to Seán Burke, let's take a look at some of his best bits.
This week, we're helping our clients get on the property ladder, despite the fact it's covered in grease, like some sort of Home Alone-esque booby trap. Job done. I just planted a tree while wearing a hard hat. You see, here at Snake Oil, we're doing our bit, the same way we might kiss you on the forehead, while choking you to death. At ABC Bank, we're not just your bank. We're your best mate. Coffee to go. How charmingly informal. Whether it's home improvement or just self-improvement. I also enjoy human food.
Well done.
Thank
Seán
you.
Burke, it's lovely to have you here.
Thanks.
I love where you go into, when you parody those bank ads and the real estate agents and everything. Where does that, is that just things that you're watching TV going, that's not real?
Yeah, I just, watching that back, I have a real type, don't I? It's just corporate, horrible man, basically.
We had Brian Cox as well recently as well. I love that one too.
Thanks.
How do you see the, exactly like that, how do you see the ideas?
It's just stuff I'm watching. Either stuff I really enjoy, for Brian Cox, for example, or stuff I really hate, which is terrible ads and oil companies and things like that. So either end of the spectrum, that's where my passion lies.
And kind of getting all of these together, because like I can lose hours watching your videos and then watching you and Emma Dorn and Michael Fry and, you know, it's Killian Sunderman, like there's so too many to name. Sketch comedy, it's having a moment.
I know,
isn't it? It really is, like from the French and Saunders days, and right now, especially during lockdown, it just came hugely to the fore.
Exactly, exploded again. And that's where myself and a lot of other Irish comedians in particular kind of popped up on the scene. Nobody had anything else to do. People, you know, watching stuff on their phone and us at home looking for something to do. So put the time into making comedy sketches, you know.
But then translating that into stand-up, which is happening. How's that going?
Yeah, it's going great. I mean, lots of my friends are doing live shows. Michael and Killian are doing live shows. Peter McGann, for example, comedians I love. And naturally, like, it's a real help as a comedian to have that social media presence as a boost. You know, it draws up, you know, it generates interest, and people want to see you live, understandably. So.
And for you as well, impressions is such a big part of it as well. I think you just did a show on White Lotus, which I was loving. You've done the Irish White Lotus, I think, with Jennifer Coolidge. Let's take a quick look.
Honey, which one is our hotel?
It's a small city. How many hotels can there be? How many hotels can there be?
A lot more than you'd think.
Wow, the Ilex Center. It's like where capitalism came to die.
This is a White Lotus hotel, so if our guests want something, they'll get it, whatever the request.
Anything?
Anything.
Taxi after midnight?
Don't be ridiculous.
The spire. It's like a toothpick for the sky.
What the hell is a Viking splash?
Oh, Basaurus, the world's largest toilet.
It's classic, like, it's such a classic show, but the Irish side of it too.
I know, yeah, you gotta just apply that niche element to it. And I was as surprised as anyone to discover I could do a Jennifer Coolidge impression, I have to say. But after 2 series of watching her, it's simple enough though. You just need to purse your lips and just go, wow.
It's really good. When are the tourism board getting in contact with you? So
Any
that
day
you can,
now. I am available.
Yeah.
So get on the phone.
I mean, you sold Bosaurus to me, like you couldn't believe. I just wanted to do something like that. You've also done this thing where with Channel 4, where now you've become a bit obsessed with this.
I love this video.
Do you want to show? This is you hijacking Hollywood.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Well, we just have a let's
have a look. You're right.
Take over. That's good.
Okay, I can take a hint. All right, go on.
No, keep your top on. It's early morning television. But that's class. I mean, how did that even come about that you're interviewing the two guys?
I know, I was really lucky, to be fair. The producers of that show happened to see some of my videos on YouTube and just plucked me out of obscurity and asked me to do that. And it was a wild ride. It was really exciting. I've also never been more terrified in my life.
You didn't look at it.
Yeah,
because
that's
they're
the
going
key.
to take the top off. It's going to peak.
They were very complimentary about the whole thing. It couldn't have gone better.
But hold on now. So you're going in, like you can find these on, they're incredibly funny. It was you going into these massive Hollywood stars and doing stuff like that. So the two lads, were they kind of going, listen, by the way, this is going to be for a sketch show, so just go with it?
No, because there's literally no time to even do that. I'm out there in the hallway with dozens of journalists, real journalists, and I'm also there. And they're asking question after question, and they're constantly going, you only have 5 minutes now.
Yeah.
So you have to go straight into it. And the thing is, it wouldn't even help to warn them, you know? The part of it is just seeing the appeal is seeing their genuine reactions, you know?
To be fair to them, they were they were class, weren't they? Because I'd say they are so dull down with all the same questions. Yeah. And when someone tries to be a bit different, they're like, do you know what? I don't even want to be funny anymore. Just give me the bog standard answers again. But they played long.
Exactly. They're probably relieved to have somebody not asking the same 10 questions they'd had all morning, you know, and they couldn't have been better. Those two were great crack and they were.
Is it intimidating to take your top off in front of the rock when you see
just a little bit.
the size of him?
I would have had that on my dating profile. Just a gift going between the two of you.
I love the bit as well. You give them a present. You know, if you think you're doing the nice thing, and they just hand it back to you again. Thanks for no thanks.
Make sure to take a look. It's actually you've really gone down a spiral of that kind of stuff. Now you've got a brand new comedy podcast. This is with Omid Jalili, who has been in The Mummy, Gladiator, Notting Hill. Like, he's a big UK star.
I know, he's huge. He's somebody I've been watching for years. Absolutely hilarious, man. And also the loveliest person. Yeah, he was a delight to work with.
Oh.
And the podcast is so much fun. It's called Please Tell Me a Story. It's a comedy podcast. 6 comedians, including myself and Omid and 4 others. And basically, each episode, one of us tells a story. But, for example, on my episode, I would tell Helen Bauer, another great comedian. Then I would leave the room. Then she would tell that story to the next comedian, who would tell it to the next comedian and the next comedian. Then we all reconvene at the end and see what kind of ridiculous state the story has ended up in.
So it's a Chinese whispers comedy.
Yeah, and it's always completely obscured. Half of it's missing. Something's totally invented. And it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
I never understand how Chinese whispers works. Like, do you purposely try to change it?
I did for the first one. I just called Ahmed's uncle Dave for the crack, just to keep myself entertained.
Yeah.
And it made it to the end, to be fair. But you don't even need to. You wouldn't believe. I'm starting to question everything now, because this was like condensed evolution of a story in one day, and it was already completely changed and half missing. Who knows what happens over weeks and months and dozens of people, you know?
You're just looking at politicians in a different way going, what?
Yeah.
How did that start in the call this morning? Because I don't think this is what we're hearing right now.
It starts to make sense, doesn't it?
It's all there, the Chinese whispers of life. It's called Please Tell Me a Story. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. It's Seán and his mates. Don't mind Omid, it's you and your mates. And you can find at Seán Burke Show on socials, which is just a joy, to be honest.
It'll give you a good old laugh. Seán, listen, it's a pleasure to have you with
Thanks
us this
very
morning.
much,
Very
guys.
best
Cheers for
of luck.
And happy birthday.
Yes,
happy
thanks for getting
birthday.
that in. Yeah, I didn't
Happy
mention that.
birthday.
We'll have the cake for when we go to the next segment.
Is your mum watching?
She better be.
She better be. Okay, happy birthday. So he'll be home too soon. Alan, what have you got for us?
We've soda bread with chocolate chips in it. How's that for your cake?
For your cake.
Is that too? Yeah.
Perfect.
Now, the Skin Nerd is here to share her expert advice and answer some of your questions. So don't go anywhere. It's coming up right after this break. Now, spring has almost sprung, has it? It's still January. And as the season begins to change, it's important to know how different weather can impact your skin.
Jennifer Rock is here to answer our viewers' questions. So I'm going to start this straight away. This is, I'm 47 and my skin's relatively good, but due to smoking for years, I have developed deep lines around my mouth and upper lip. Can you recommend any non-surgical procedures or creams to help?
So the key 2 ingredients I'll always recommend for anyone that tries to trigger collagen and elastin, which is essentially the 2 peptides and proteins we have within our skin that break down with age. When you smoke, it does accelerate, and typically it's around the mouth area that you'll see it break down quicker, are vitamin A and vitamin C. They're my almost 2 non-negotiables. That and SPF would be my 3 that I'd always go to. But there's a brand that I've come across, it's only newly launched in Ireland, and it is Beauty and Pharma Dermaceuticals, which is essentially a nod towards the fact that they have a committee of people between dermatologists and pharmacists come together, and they're not trend driven, it's all based on science, so you're guaranteed when you're using this that you're getting the right levels, the right potency. So what the first product that you have there is their retinol, their light strength, I think you have there, which is the 0.5%. So it's a little dropper. It's a nighttime serum. You use it a couple of times a week just to get used to it. Now, vitamin A is becoming the go-to skin care
retinol
ingredient.
is vitamin A.
Exactly.
So anytime you see retinol everywhere now, and everyone says use retinol, it's actually just vitamin A.
Yeah. So vitamin A is the family name, or retinoids is a nicer way to describe it, and retinol is a form of it. Now, what's clever with this, firstly, you'll see it's a beautiful light texture. You can put it onto the skin neat, so you've cleansed your skin at night, put this on, and you can mix it with your vitamin C, which I'll talk about in a second. But the reality with this is they've squalene in it, so sometimes vitamin A can be an irritant on the skin, but the clever piece of this, again, back to innovation, the technology, the people behind it, is that it really delivers delivers into the skin in a way in which that it doesn't irritate.
I love
and
a
it has
serum.
hyaluronic. That is a serum.
I know, but I love a serum. Is a
Yeah.
serum better than a cream?
Good question. So a serum essentially usually has technology. Firstly, it's usually water-based and it'll penetrate into the skin, but it has the technology that will get into the lower layers of the skin. So a moisturiser is more of an occlusive. It sits superficially and on top, whereas an ingredient on a brand like that, it's all about getting into the skin, to trigger the skin, to get more collagen, to feel better. So going back to the question, it essentially means that you're able to help lines, wrinkles, clarity, tone, texture, pigment a lot, which a lot of people that have had smoked, and even if you haven't smoked, is just general anti-aging. And why I'm coupling it with vitamin C is vitamin C is an ingredient we don't actually make as human beings, so it's all about giving it back both in your diet, of course, and then externally. So it just gives an luminosity to the skin. Now, with this particular same brand, this particular product is your 15% vitamin C, and it has hyaluronic in it. Same concept as a little pipette. Now, this is your morning regime. So vitamin C is ideal in the morning.
Is this a night one? Sorry, is this a night one? So it's a morning and night. So you could use both of them.
You could. So use the one that Muireann's using now. Again, beautiful texture, lovely slip to it.
They're really spreadable.
They really are.
Like one drop is going to do your face.
And do you know what I love about it? It's extremely affordable. So you need a small amount. It is affordable. The luminosity is apparent. But again, for me, there's rosehip in there, aloe vera, chamomile. Again, for me, it's all about the technology within it. So luminosity and brilliant for redness.
Yeah, they're not going to get rid of what they're going to help with the
make
wrinkles.
you feel better
That's
and really help with that area.
Okay, another question. I want to get my teenage daughter into skincare because she's starting to feel self-conscious. What would you recommend? And you have some Dr. Hauschka here.
Yeah, look, do you know what? Firstly, I love that you're trying to help your daughter get into skincare. And it's a beautiful ritual just to get yourself into that regime of cleansing, seruming, SPFing every single morning, ideally, alongside brushing your teeth. From a brand's perspective, you might imagine you don't need something too active. It's all about trying to keep the skin calm, get them into a regime. And that's where I think, side stage, let's enter in Dr. Hauschka. So Dr. Hauschka is a household name in so many ways. It goes back to the 1960s. It stands the test of time. It's created by a doctor, beautiful philosophy-driven brand, all about organic, natural ingredients that are just genuinely kind for the skin. So the Rose Day Cream is the first one I have there. You can feel it. It's a beautiful texture again to it. It is beautiful for mature skin. So why am I talking about it for someone who's teenage? Because the ingredients in it are genuinely everything that you know when you're looking after your child, you're choosing ingredients that are brilliant for them inside. The same philosophy applies on the outside.
Do you believe in that thing when people when you see these creams for over 40s, and is there specific things in those creams for people who are aging?
Yeah, like if I go back to the previous product, it had a peptide in it. So like every decade will need something different. There's no denying it. But in this particular scenario, for me, it's about the philosophy of the brand, the fact that it's natural, organic, rosehip rose, extremely calming, beautifully anti-inflammatory. So when this particular teenager doesn't have any issue with their skin, just wants help with dryness and a regime, it's honestly spot on. In saying that, this brand has many different products within it, and even if I go on to the cleanser, this is a relatively, as you can see, it says new up the top, but it's a relatively new cleansing balm. I particularly love this one. Again, extremely affordable and get them in pharmacies nationwide, All Care, Hickeys, etc. But this one, when you put it on, it's like a gel texture. When you mix it with water, which you obviously don't have here, it turns into, honestly, wearing the most beautiful milk-like lotion. It breaks down, so if she's playing with makeup, or no matter what age you are, going back to the question, it breaks down makeup so easily, so gently. Whereas sometimes, and I'm going to be a little bit stereotypical here, with a teenager, they can almost go at their skin and slough off and be aggressive. This is a beautiful way to remove makeup without any
I always remembered those pads that I would use that would rip away the first layer of my skin, thinking that it would get rid of blackheads. Please do not do that, teenagers. Please do not do that.
No, and there's apricot oil and kernel in there and birch, and there's an awful lot of ingredients that are really calming. So although I say for teen, if you're listening and you're 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and you just want something calming, really are caring for what you're putting into your body, same premise.
But a little bit would go a long way. That's the thing. It would last you for ages.
Yeah, and do you know what's beautiful? A little bit in the shower across the décolleté, and this is with this area here, it just really does brighten and give a luminosity to the skin. Very thorough.
Okay. My husband has very dry skin, but is too embarrassed to buy any skincare products. I want to help him create his own routine, but I know I have to start simple. What product would you recommend?
So I have one here, which is one that I'm definitely familiar with. This is my own baby.
She's like, I can't. We're like, bring it in. It's brilliant. So what is it?
The ingredients is my own skincare range. So the name says that it's all about ingredients that are designed for the skin. It's clinical levels. It's built by myself with my chemists and my team. But essentially what you're looking at is our newest addition to the love of our lives, which is the AHA Cleanse. So it's alpha hydroxy acid. So the word acid can sometimes terrify people.
Frighten people,
it can. But you know what? Your skin is actually made of acid. So putting on a gentle protective acid, which is what lactic acid is, it's a beautiful acid. acid. Lactic acid is essentially an ingredient we naturally have inside us. It's all about putting it back into the skin. This is a cleanser and a mask together. So I can use this every second or third night as a cleanser, 60 seconds all around, and it really removes the day, but it gives...
I would have thought there, Jennifer, that with dry skin, if you're cleansing it, it's going to be more dry.
Yeah. It can be, but it's about the ingredients and how you use it. So lactic acid is, as we said, an acid, but it's a gentle, respectful acid that just sloughs off the dead skin cells. So you can use this all over for 60 seconds, and it just gives the skin that luminosity, or use it as a mask for 7 minutes, and it has the refill element to it too.
So you can do 7 minutes. I would also just say with these, having used your products for years, a little bit goes a long way.
Yes.
That's kind of the important thing as well, putting water in.
Constantly award-winning. So yes, very proud, and thank you for letting us feature it.
And thank you for answering those questions. Thank you so much.
That's it. Thank you so much.
Tommy.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks so much. We've got another jam-packed show coming up tomorrow. Comedians and husband and wife duo Fred Cook and Julie J are going to be dropping by. TikTok makeup queen Kaylee Cashel will be running through the top trends of the year, and
Edward Hayden's making beef stew. Oh, sorted for breakfast.
He's been looking forward
to that. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.